This is the Saramonic K9 XTX. Plug it onto almost any XLR microphone and that microphone instantly becomes wireless. No XLR cable running across the floor, no separate phantom power supply, just a microphone and this transmitter, and you're ready to record. And after testing it here in the studio at a live event and even on a short film, I can tell you it's so much worth it. But before I got to that point, I need to tell you two mistakes that nearly cost me an entire recording, and they're both easy to make if you don't know what you're doing. So in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how the K9 XTX performs, let you hear how it compares against a traditional XLR setup, walk you through the mistakes I made so you don't repeat them, and help you decide whether this deserves a place in your kit. So what is this little guy all about and what can it do? The K9 XTX is the plug-on digital ultra high frequency wireless transmitter for XLR microphones. You plug it directly to the back of your XLR microphone, any XLR mic of your choice, whether it's your standard podcast mic like the Rode Pod mic, and transform that XLR mic into a wireless microphone, no cable between the mic and the transmitter. It runs across wideband UHF across 550 to 960 MHz, records internally to a micro SD card at 24-bit and 32-bit float audio, supports timecode for multi-camera workflows, and delivers adaptive phantom power from 3 volts all the way to 48 volts. That last point is why it can drive demanding condensers like the MKH416 without a separate power supply. It is also built from a rugged aluminum alloy metal body, which tells you straight away that this is meant to survive real use. Saramonic sent me this kit as part of our usual ongoing partnership to try out. Usual, they have no say in what I say and they don't get to see this video before it goes live. Everything you're hearing or everything I'm about to say in this video is my own honest finding. After the links in the description, check them for current pricing. They're free to use and it helped the channel. Before we go any further, tell me if you spot any difference in the audio. From the start of this video, I've had the MKH416 connected straight to my camera via XLR cable, which is my standard studio setup most of the time here in the studio. And now, till the end of this video, I'll switch that setup to go wireless by plugging the K9 XTX to the back of the Sennheiser MKH416. 1 second. So now I have the K9 XTX powering the Sennheiser MKH416. I have a 3.5mm cable connected from the monitoring output into my camera. I also have the receiver here, so you can see that as I'm speaking, you can see that signal level. And to be honest, when I first tried this combination, I kind of liked how it sounds straight out from the receiver connected to my camera. But what I also wanted you to hear is the onboard 32-bit float recorded file. So that's how it sounds from the onboard recorded 32-bit file straight from the transmitter. Personally, what hit me was how broadcast ready the wireless transmission sounds. And just for a different test, this is me speaking through the Rode Pod mic using the K9 XTX. What do you think about how it sounds? This is with the K9 XTX connected, and I'll disconnect the K9 XTX and connect an XLR cable directly into my camera. And now again, this is the Rode Pod mic without the K9 XTX. I have an XLR cable connected directly to my camera, and I have phantom power turned off because obviously the Pod mic doesn't need 48 volt or phantom power. So tell me, what do you guys think about the difference in the audio? Alright, so I'm back to the Pod mic and the K9 XTX. Sorry I said I'll run the Sennheiser to the end of this video. I just thought I should do this way. Hopefully there's no rumbling from holding the Pod mic this way. But also let me know if you notice any difference in the comments below. And I also tested this with the newly released Saramonic SG MS1 shotgun mic on a low budget short film, connected the SG MS1 via its 5-pin cable directly to the K9 XTX transmitter and monitored via the receiver throughout the shoot. Now before I tell you about the mistake that nearly had me pulling my hair out, let me quickly show you what actually comes in the K9 XTX box. It's the same box the older K9 used and the same one the new SG MS1 uses. And to be fair, Saramonic hasn't exactly been stingy here. You get the K9 XTX plug-on transmitter, the standard K9 transmitter, the K9 receiver, a 3mm IP67 lav mic, which I think is one of the best wired lav mics out there, 2 proper 64GB micro SD cards, a rugged carry case, and practically every single cable you need to get started. USB-C, XLR, 3.5mm to 3.5mm, and a 3.5mm to XLR, pretty much everything you need right out of the box. Honestly, this is one of those kits where you open the case and realize you are not going to need to buy much of anything else. Everything has its place, everything feels well thought out, and it definitely feels like a system aimed at people doing serious work rather than just casual content creation. If you've seen my review of the previous K9 kit on the channel, you remember that the included lav mic is the industry's smallest capsule at 3mm IP67 rated for dust and water resistance and designed to stay hidden on talent, which is great for documentary work, interviews, events, and much more. And then I made a mistake during setup that caused a problem I wasn't expecting. Again, I'm back to the K9 XTX powering the Sennheiser MK416, but here's mistake number one, and it is one that stung the most. When you power on the K9 XTX and the K9 receiver, they connect automatically as they are already paired from the factory. But to use the system with the mobile app, you would need to activate it. So if you have the Saramonic system app installed, you open it, click the plus sign at the top right, and follow the routine to add your devices. The activation process takes less than a minute. And the reason this step exists is actually clever. The app reads your phone's GPS location, not the internet, so you would need to grant location access if you haven't already done so. And it uses this to assign you the correct legal UHF frequency band for your country automatically. No going through menus, no guessing which frequencies are legal where you are. The app sorts it out. Here's what happened to me. At that initial activation step, I refused the app location access, which meant it couldn't read where I was and assign my correct regional frequencies. So I went ahead and manually selected a frequency range myself, and I suspect I landed on the US frequency range. What happened next was confusing. The device would not record cleanly. It would start recording and just freeze up. Even trying to power down the device would not work. I had to yank out the batteries, and of course, when I checked the memory card, there was no recorded file. The reason for this is that in the US, there's a pattern restriction that means the K9 system cannot transmit wirelessly and record at the same time. That is specific to US frequencies, so if your device thinks it's running on US frequency, it behaves accordingly. Now the fix is simple and it takes just 30 seconds. Open the Saramonic system app, activate the device, grant location access this time, let it read where you are and let it assign your correct regional frequencies. Done. The system never misbehaved after that. So don't be like me. Grant that location access right at the first step. It is one of the things that saves you everything I went through. Alright, let's talk about the physical experience of this transmitter, because build quality is another reason why you would invest in a brand product like this. I've had this device for a few weeks now and travel with it in separate backpack, not in regional hard case. And you can see that it is barely scratched. Still looks like new, and that tracks because, as I mentioned earlier, this is a rugged aluminum alloy metal body, not plastic. The K9 XTX connects normally to your XLR mic, but there's something I really appreciate Saramonic for adding to the XLR connector port, and that is a screw lock collar. You plug it onto your XLR connector and turn it until it tightens, and once it's locked, nothing is moving about. There is absolutely no wobbling, no risk of accidental disconnection on set. So if you're moving through a crowd or you have it on a boom pole, you would have peace of mind that your connection is safe and would hold. And you can agree with me that on a professional shoot, the last thing you need is a transmitter falling off your microphone mid-take. So having that screw lock right there is the right answer. The power on behavior is also worth a mention. To power this unit on, you hold the power button for a few seconds. It does not come on from a quick press. That is intentional. It stops the unit accidentally powering on and off. Small detail, but it shows the level of thinking that has gone into this product. Well done, Saramonic. Now, if you plug in a USB-C cable while recording, the unit switches power source cleanly. The audio keeps running with no disconnect. There is a chance of some handling noise during the actual plug-in depending on your setup, so do that between shots rather than mid-take. But the switch itself is silent in the audio chain, at least from my own experience. Navigating the menus is via the physical buttons right there. Hopefully in the future version, we get a touchscreen version like we're starting to see on some receivers now. But the button navigation works and does the job. A touch interface will just make this even slicker, and it will probably push the price up. Now let me tell you about mistake number 2, and this one I made out in the field at a live event. I was using the K9 XTX alongside the WeTalk 9X, which is another Saramonic product I have a dedicated video on the channel, as backup audio and to capture audience reactions during the live event. The original plan was to have the K9 XTX record the live mix directly from the event's audio mixer, feeding in via a 3.5mm to XLR cable. Didn't work, and after a lot of time spent troubleshooting the device, I found that I had just one setting wrong. When you plug a source into the K9 XTX transmitter, you need to tell the device what kind of signal you're feeding it, and the K9 XTX has 6 selectable input options: mic 3 volts, mic 5 volts, mic 24, mic 48, line, and 12 volt. This is a serious range of input options, and I'm impressed to see that level of flexibility in a device like this. The transmitter was still set to mic 48 volts from earlier usage, and I forgot to switch it over to line for the mixer feed. So the transmitter did not recognize any incoming signal at all. So know your input source before you plug in and set the gain stage accordingly. If you're going from a mic with phantom power, pick the appropriate mic setting. If you're going from a mixer line out, line is correct. Match the source to the input and you won't have the problem I had. Two more things worth knowing while we're on this. There's a 3.5mm audio monitoring port right on the transmitter itself, so you can monitor your input directly at the source, not just at the receiver, with an option of also just feeding that to your camera if you want it. Also, if your input signal is coming in too loud, the audio light on the transmitter blinks red to warn you. Small details, but they generally help you catch problems before they ruin a take. One thing I noticed during testing and using the system is that the receiver actually chews through more battery than the transmitters. And yes, this is confirmed on the Saramonic website. I consistently got around 4.5 hours of continuous 32-bit float audio recording via XLR on a 3600 milliwatt hour 1.5 volts lithium battery before the low battery indicator came on, and that indicator was on the receiver, not the transmitter. The transmitter at that point still had 2 out of 3 battery bars remaining, which wasn't much of a problem because the warning gave me plenty of time to change batteries. Recording continued cleanly after the indicator appeared. It wasn't a sudden cutout, so I had time to find a natural break in the shoot and swap the batteries out without losing anything. My guess is that the receiver is doing more work in the background, possibly scanning for a second transmitter even when only one is paired, or simply because the display and output circuitry might be drawing more power. There's also the Saramonic system app, and this is where everything comes together, and honestly this is one of the strongest arguments for staying within the Saramonic setup. From one app I can control the K9 XTX, the standard K9 transmitters, the older one, and my other Saramonic gear including the TC Neo timecode generator, all at the same time, up to 48 devices from a single screen. Let me just show you guys so you know I'm not joking. So that's all the devices connected, about 9 of them, and you can just sync all of them straight. I'll select 2398, date, month and year, and I'll click sync, and all devices are synced. And what I'll do is show you all the devices. So that's the new K9 XTX with the older K9 right here, and I have my TC timecode news. You can see all of them are connected, they're all on. That's 1, 2, and 3, they're all connected to that mobile app. If running multiple units on a larger production, that level of control from your cell phone is genuinely useful. Gain measurements, group assignments, sleep mode to extend battery life, firmware updates, start and stop recording, and even view the recorded files, all of it without touching the units themselves. And you can agree with me that when a transmitter is clipped to a sound recording belt 20 meters away, not having to walk over there to change setting is a big win. Like I said earlier on, 32-bit float recording, this is enabled directly on the transmitter device menu, not in the app. I would love to see that toggle in the app as well, maybe in the future firmware update. But I also think switching between 24-bit and 32-bit is not something you would want to do so often. So I understand why it is probably not there. The K9 XTX transmitter supports timecode. Like I showed you can sync everything via the app, via a wired TRS connection as well to a third-party generator like Tentacle Sync or Deity, TC1, or wirelessly via the Saramonic TC Neo. So if you shoot multi-camera and you have spent time manually syncing audio in post, you know exactly why this matters. And also for real-time monitoring, the 3.5mm output on the receiver is your root. Plug headphones in and you're listening to what is being transmitted live or listening to what has already been recorded straight from the device. For USB-C audio input through cameras, I tested it on the Blackmagic Pixel 6K Red port. It's not supported via the K9 XTX. The 3.5mm is your monitoring route. So who should buy the K9 XTX kit, and is it worth your money? Well, if you own a professional XLR microphone and you want to cut the cable without cutting corners on audio quality, the K9 XTX is built for you. The indie filmmaker who has one serious mic and wants it wireless, the sound recordist who is tired of running XLR cables across a set, the run and gun filmmaker who wants UHF reliability rather than fighting 2.4 GHz dropouts in crowded RF environment, the studio-based creator who wants to reduce the cable clutter running around the room from indie level straight up to broadcast, this system holds up. I've used it in a live event, on a short film, in the studio here, and it has performed across all 3 different scenarios. The 2 mistakes I walked you through, the activation trap and the input gain stage, are both avoidable once you know what you are dealing with, and I've saved you the time of finding out the hardware. Compare what you get in this kit to equivalent professional ultra high frequency systems at this price point. The accessories, the included lav, the storage, the app ecosystem, the time code, and the value argument for Saramonic is very strong. Everything about the system earns a place in my kit. That is why I still own and use the TC Neo and the K9 system up until now with Saramonic Cine Buff accessories to comfortably hide their lav mics on talent. So this is a big win for Saramonic. I've also put out a review video on Saramonic SG-MS1, a professional grade analog and digital dual output mono and stereo microphone. It's a video worth watching and it's live on the channel now as well. And if you want to see Saramonic handle intercom communication on a professional set, the We Talk 9X video is also live on the channel. Subscribe so you don't miss it, especially if you are building out a full Saramonic setup. Don't forget to like, share and sub to the channel. It's your Filmmaker. I'll see you in the next one. God bless and peace.